Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of Conversations with Experts. This week is the second interview with Gemma Lonsdale. In this interview, Gemma and I are really just having a conversation. It's not so much about me asking her questions, we're talking about intuition and skepticism. So if you're interested in anything to do with the spiritual world, and maybe you've come up against some blocks maybe, or walls or attitudes from people, then this is definitely the episode for you. Without further ado, I would like to take you into the interview. So we'll go into the lovely interview with Gemma Lonsdale, all about intuition and possibly a little bit of skepticism. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Self-Love, Self-Care Conversations with Experts. Today, my guest on the show is Gemma Lonsdale. Gemma is an international psychic medium, clairvoyant life coach, speaker, host of the Happy Psychic podcast, as well as being a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So hello, Gemma. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi, everybody.
Hello, you are so welcome. So Gemma, I want to know a little bit. First question, this is going to be, what I want to do is tell you all first, viewers, today's conversation is going to be more of a chat between me and Gemma. And I love the idea that we're hem and gem. So I thought it was kind of cool. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat and we're going to talk about spiritual stuff and psychic stuff. And we're going to share our experience with you. What would you say to the internal, how you got to know yourself? What would you say to that, Gem?
It took a long time. And I think that, there was a lot of things that I have still to learn about myself. Yeah. And that's actually something that always comes through from my spirit guide as well, is that we're always forever on this journey. There's always some uncovered, some gems internally that we can uncover about ourselves. But it took me a long time really to get to grips with that. And meditation, I really found, helped me uncover those bits of myself. And I think that I went through this transition of trying to figure out exactly where I fit. And I felt like I couldn't be that ambitious person chasing after money anymore. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that actually that's an inherent part of me. I just need to channel it in the right direction. I need to be doing something of purpose, rather than just chasing after the 6-figure salary and the director job title, whatever it might have been that I was going after at that time. But actually, whenever you're doing something of purpose, your soul is getting fulfilled, and also your bank balances as well, because there's no harm in money. There's no harm in having money. We live in an abundant universe. So just because we're on a spiritual path doesn't mean that we have to give that up. We don't have to give that up. But I think I felt at the time, whenever I was going through part of my transition, I definitely did feel like I had to give that up. But that also brings me to, you mentioned it as well about you were trying to sort of think things through and work them out and figure things out. But I think we focus so much on logic. We're brought up, even within the school system, we are taught to use logic, to show our working out whenever we're doing a mathematical equation. We are taught to use logic, and that is something that is really, really trusted, scientific evidence, fact-based. But what we're not taught to do is trust our intuition. So then that means that we devalue our intuition. And a great example, actually, I used to be a headhunter. That was the direction that I initially took with my career. And whenever I was first starting out, I can remember we used to have a thing called blind slots, where the client, we would have been working with would have said, right, I've got 4 interview slots, 2, 3, 4, and 5 o'clock on Monday afternoon. And, so I want you to find people, to this brief. And then we would obviously go out to market, and then we would do the shortlist ourselves, do the first round of interviews, shortlist, and then put people into those slots. And it was actually a bit of a regular occurrence that I would be saying to my boss that this guy is going to get the job. This is the guy for the job. He's going to get it. And he would look at the interview notes. He would look at his CV and he would be like, no, he's not a match. He's not a fit. I'm like, no, he is. He is. But because at that time I was still tuned into my intuition. But, there was a couple of occasions where I think there was one occasion where he was off sick, and he had told me just absolutely no, this person was not to be put in for this interview. And we had somebody drop out last minute. So I put my person in and they got the job. And it happened so many times that actually his boss said to him, like, why are you not listening to her? You know, you're trying to like do it by logic, and, you know, but he doesn't tick this box, he doesn't tick that box. But she clearly is doing something right, because she is saying to you that they're going to get the job, and they're getting the job, you know. So it just goes to show we're just not taught to trust our intuition, and that's stamped out at like quite an early age. And that makes me really sad.
Yeah,
That makes me really, really sad that we place such little trust. And it's the same in, you know, Western medicine as well. You know, when we think of a doctor, they have all this education, but it's almost like, well, no, your symptoms don't match that. Even though, you know, as a patient, your intuition might be telling you, no, but I definitely have gallstones, you know, it's definitely gallstones, I just know. He's like, no, your pain isn't in the right place. It's just, it's not a fit, you know, it's heartburn or whatever it might be. But actually, if we were taught to use our intuition, could life be easier? I think so.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I do. It's interesting what you say, because it's why I couldn't do well in teaching, because I wanted to use my values and give that deep understanding to the children, which was not part of the remit. So I kept getting bailed out. I kept getting told off. I kept getting told, well, you know, this isn't how it's meant to be done. They're not meant to work this way. Why are you asking them to do this? And I was like, because you don't understand. They're going to need it later. And I kept saying this. They're going to need it later. But what I do think, and I remember this much to my glee, right? Those children that I did help will have that stuff. They will have that regardless, because I made sure I put it in their early, because I was an early year specialist, so their early mind. And I know that we get all of our stuff from 0 to 7. So it was the right place for me to be. But, you know, it's interesting when you were saying about the logical mind. It's all because we're so trained to be in that more masculine system. So we are at the moment in a real deep well of change, where the feminine and masculine are attempting to balance out. And it's why we've got so much chaos at the moment in general, because the masculine and feminine are trying to balance out, and masculine's going, no, tugging over here, and the feminine's going, tugging over here. But actually the reality of it is that we need both. We do need the logic, but we need the intuitive side to hold that logic, because without the intuitive side holding the logic just can become over bombastic and too supercilious and too high-minded, so it doesn't see the full potential of everything.
We're taught to conform. You know, our whole society is based on conforming, whether you're a teacher teaching kids or whether you are, you know, a person paying their taxes. We are taught to conform, and that is drilled into us from a very, very young age. And I think that that's why we find it so easy to disassociate from our intuitive selves, because it's taught to us, you know, this conforming, the societal standard, you know, living up to expectations. But it's like, who the hell made these rules? Who like, who are we conforming to? Do you know what I mean? Like,
beautiful. All right. Who are they? It's always a they, isn't it? It's always in like inverted commas. They said. I started questioning that a while back. Who are they? And how do they know how I feel? Because often they don't know how I feel. And often it's so incorrect, it's off the wall incorrect. And no, you are really right. We are, because we're so programmed and conditioned. We live in a very highly conditioned society that is pushing for us to think one stream of consciousness, one stream of thought, and that's consciousness is probably not the right word to use there. However, they want us to be on that logical consciousness, like that level. And then if you start bringing in the sensitive side into that, it kind of bashes its head against it, because what that's controlling and manipulative that side is, this side's open and expanded. So you are, I do agree.
It's my family, you know, the people that I was closest to in the world, they're very skeptical of this intuitive world, and they just don't really have a faith in what I'm doing. And I believe that my brother actually said to my dad at one point, she needs to go and get herself a proper job, because it's just so far from their world that they haven't been able to embrace it. You know, many of them are skeptics, really, on whether this, world of spirit and other realms exist. But then I was a bit of a skeptic myself. I always had these hopes that there was something else, but until I really experienced it firsthand, I was a skeptic. So I can understand how we can be living in that world and not really, trusting that there is more to this earth than what we experience. But whenever I think back to one of the very first, it was one of the very first readings, I think, that I actually did. And I can remember this woman coming along, and she was saying to me, she was young, like this thing, she was early 20s, had just had a baby, because she was like saying about the baby, and she was like, oh, like what's in store for my for my relationship. And I can remember looking at her on Zoom, and she looked so optimistic, and I'm thinking, because I'm being shown he's a shit, he's put him in the bin. And I was like, how do I tell this to her? Because I thought she's going to be like wanting it, she's maybe like thinking about like, oh, are they going to get engaged? And and I actually said to her what I was being shown, and she said, yeah, I think he's cheating on me. And I was like, oh thank God. Not that I was devastated for her. I was absolutely devastated for her, but I was so relieved that like, oh, I'm so pleased that this isn't a more difficult conversation. And I just like, my mind was blown. I'm like, how did I know this? Like, where did this come from? Like, is that not evidence enough? Can everybody just not believe, and then we can use our intuition and just move on? I wish, and I know I can't force it on to people. I just really wish that I could show the world that, like, it's real. Look, we can use our intuition. We can tune into stuff. We can do all this communication with each other, with other realms, and it's amazing. But I appreciate as well that we're not all at that place. We're not all ready to wake up at this particular time. And some of us might never wake up, My brother might still be saying to me whenever, he's in his 50s that, Gemma, you need to knock this on the head. You need to go and get yourself a regular job, get back into sales. A proper job, yeah. Just go and get a proper job. But yeah, I'm so passionate about it, and I get so excited about it. And I think because I've realized that how much more my life has improved since I have really embraced this journey. I've never been happier. I have never been happier. And like, there was a part during COVID where I'm really struggling financially to make ends meet. And I'm trying to build up this spiritual business. I'm spiritual entrepreneur. He was like struggling to feed her daughter at one point. But I kept on with it, and it got better. And even through the really challenging times, I was still happier having nothing and having spirit. So nothing, I didn't really have much financially, but yet I had everything. And yet when I think back to those times whenever I had, the brand new car, the credit card, the money in the bank, and, I was able to go out shopping and buying all these things. It was just, I was so much happier having nothing and struggling. And that was probably the biggest eye opener for me, that I could have so little and still be happy in life.
It's so interesting, because there's quite a lot of things that you said that I want to go to, but I didn't even write it down because I was don't
be afraid to just shut me up. Just put the hand up and I'll just be quiet.
so enamored with things you were saying, and it was just so good. I've been taken back to something else where you were talking about the money actually, and you were saying about me, like you deserve to earn, and how you were thinking that being in this kind of realm meant earning less. Well, it is interesting, because I'll tell you a little story. I was the same, and I just realized what I've been doing. I had all that money before too. And I went into a shop the other day, and I was looking at a dress. So I was just looking at this dress, and I was saying, well, you couldn't have that. And then I suddenly said to myself, why can't you have that? It was the price tag was big, right? It was a big price tag. But I'd never ever thought before of a price tag like that. And the thing is, we all deserve to be able to have the lives that we want. And I think, that monetary thing is so true. And it is it's huge. It's a huge thing, because so many people, I've even been told before that if you can do this, you should give it for free. And I said, well, no, because I still need to eat. And, I still need to pay my bills. And I still need to make sure there's a roof over my head and things like that. And I think once people start to really think about that, they go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. But then you can't do these two things at the same time, because the bandwidth you have to give out. You couldn't do a corporate job and also be doing this on the side. Well, you could, but you get to that space of exhaustion quicker and faster, wouldn't you? But
and the thing is as well, I'm sorry, I'm so rude to chip in, but just when you say like about a proper job, but that's because society has taught us that we need to live in the real world, like in the corporate world, because this isn't classed as something that's real.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so it's a societal conditioning thing, you know, that people don't value it. And I think, well, if you don't value it, then go to somebody who will do it for free, and then see if the information that you get is worth having. And in some cases it might be, but there might be cases where actually they would have been better to just trust their own intuition in the first place.
Yeah. And actually, I'm of the opinion, and this is just my opinion, okay, but I'm of the opinion that when you're in the space where you're not charging well and properly for what the service you're giving, it's an exchange of energy, it's an exchange of time, it's not about money, right? But I'm in the opinion of that what happens is you do not get the best from the other person because they are not valuing themselves, you see. And I've been there and I've done that. I've given free, but you know, that was my starter way. However, I recognize the difference between when there's a monetary exchange and when there isn't a monetary exchange. So I do think that's really true. Something else that you said about people, it'd be great if everyone could just see this and you know, be really open to this. But you know, the thing is, as much as it would be fantastic, the journey, this is the angels say this, the journey happens exactly as it's supposed to, because some people will stay and some people will go down this road and some people won't, because that's how it works. We've been given free will on this earth, free will to make that decision. Also, you said about being a skeptic, and I did say this on your podcast, I was a big skeptic too. And I think you said it's healthy to have that. And I believe that too. I think it's so healthy to be skeptical, because then when you do receive that knowledge, when you do receive that understanding, you're going to be more open to it, because you can't disprove what you can see yourself.
I know. And you know what, I actually think that it's really important for us to have skeptics in the world. You know, like you said, not everybody is going to come on this journey, not everybody is going to wake up, but we still need people like that, because we need people to question things. And I think that we don't question things enough as a society. You know, when I think of the political systems and things like that, again, we're very conforming. We accept the information that is given to us. We accept the system that we're in. And actually, we need to be able to question things and question things quite freely. And as uncomfortable as it is to receive those types of questions as a psychic medium, you know, or a spiritual person, or, you know, anything like that, it is uncomfortable, because we do feel like we're being called into question, and, you know, our egos stamp in, and it's like, well, I don't like being questioned, and my ego hates being questioned. However, it is really important, I think, to be able to question things. And I would never, ever stamp, as long as somebody is questioning me in a way that is polite and that they're not being rude, I would really welcome the questions. And I might not always be able to give them the answers. And I have realized over time as well that sometimes it doesn't matter what I say, you know, the information for that person isn't going to be enough. And I can relate to that, because I was once that person. No matter what a psychic medium would have said to me, or how much they would have explained it, or what evidence they gave me, I just wasn't open to believing it. I needed to experience it myself. And so I do encourage questions. I just think that we don't question things enough as a society in general, not even about this stuff, just in general. We need to ask more questions, and we need to be able to ask more questions.
I like that. You know, it's quite interesting, because I say this, and this is how I take it, right? I do me. I have the life I need to live for me. If it doesn't work for you, I respect that. I completely and utterly, and I'm there with you. I still care about you. I won't judge you for that. I won't think you're different than me because of that. And that's the thing. That's where we need to get to, I believe. If we can be collectively accepting of one another, regardless of our differences, that opens such a big door. And it's that, I think, I think it's imperative to some degree, because it doesn't matter if you do scientific discovery and I do readings and I connect to angels. There is no real difference if we as people can connect on a real visceral level and a humanity level.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's more about that. And I think sometimes we get very stuck in this, and what you were saying, it's all ego. It's all about the ego needing to be right. Remember, you never need to be right. It's always your ego that needs to be right. It's always your controlling side. And that's the side that keeps you small. So if you stay in that control mechanism and you aren't open to being questioning, like Gemma was saying, then you are going to struggle, because you're actually disappreciating yourself. You're not appreciating the whole of you.
Yeah.
Because as I say, if you're really happy where you are, then that's good. It's always got to be where you're comfortable, where you're happy, where you're in that space, I think.
Yeah. One of the things that I often find actually in my coaching, like with my coaching clients, or whenever, you know, I was first starting to go down the coaching route with people, you know, there was some people that would say, no, that's definitely not me. I'm not that person. Like, you know, no, Adam, definitely not. No, that's not in my future. That's not in my path. But I think as well that actually recognizing that our journey in this lifetime is always evolving. And if we look back, you know, if you were to look back 10 years ago on the things that you believed and the person that you were, you know, I can guarantee you that there will be some change to the person that you are today. So I think even accepting that as strong and fierce as we stand in our truth today, that might not be our truth tomorrow. You know, because we are constantly changing, and that is, you know, we could be believing in something completely different 10 years down the line. You know, for example, like, well, you know, spirit. I wasn't thinking. You know, I'd actually been told. So my daughter's 8 years old. And I had went for my first medium reading whenever she was born. I think she was about 2 or 3 months old. And I had went for a reading, and she said to me, you're clairvoyant, but you haven't tapped into it yet. I thought, she's a fake. Like, this isn't real. She has no idea what she's talking about. I'm not a clairvoyant. And here I am. Here I am. But yeah, you know, we can perceive ourselves in a certain way and just be so adamant that this is who we are. But actually, whenever we go on that journey, we can completely change.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. The angels say, this is how they put it. The angels say it's a drip feed change response. So this is the thing. If I came to someone and said, you need to believe this, it's all real, but they're that far away from me, they can't. So the angels are always saying, you will always change, because that's life, that's human existence, there's constantly change. But they always say it's like a gentle drip. So you might get a small drop that will change your perception a little bit, but it's so slow. It's like a millimeter, you know, like the yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, and we always say, if you're trying to improve the position, you don't have to go fast. You just go a millimeter at a time, or one breath at a time. So it's that, of course, people will change. That is a natural part of, that is the natural evolution. That's evolving. We can't stop evolving, just as we can't stop aging and we can't stop learning, because we do naturally. But it's kind of, when the angels say it, they say it's like here's how they're giving it to me. They're saying it's like a really gentle tide coming in and pulling out a bit, but it takes a little bit more with it, and then it comes back in and brings a bit more with it. It's like that. It's this very slow ebb and flow of your life. And you might think you're going nowhere, but one day you wake up and you go, hang on a minute, I've got so much more information and so much more than I had before. And it's kind of like that. And that's kind of how they say it to me. And when I take it from them most of the time. Most of what I do is with the angels in situ, explaining it to me, giving me the wisdom. But, you know, I think, you know, I took ages to get here. I took ages to trust in my own coherence and my own ability to be higher in my intuitive sense, even though I was born with it quite strongly in place. So if I struggled with that quite strongly in place, and, you know, we all go through traumas in life, and people go through difficulties, and some people have been through more than others, yet that it's always going to be about your perception. So it's going to be, how are you going to move through that with your own perception? It's never about looking outside. It's always about looking inside. No one else they can show you, guide you, but they can never make that decision for you from within.
Yeah, exactly. It's about holding space for people, isn't it? And helping them through it. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that is the exact same in our, you know, journeys of trauma as well. Like we can give people guidance and we can help them, but we can't force them. And I think as well, one of the biggest lessons actually for me is I'm a fixer. I love to fix people, whether it's men or, friends. I love fixing people, but almost so much so that I want to do the work for them. Whenever I look at some of the men I have dated in my life, and I think, now I'm thinking, what was I thinking? But I seen the potential in that person. I wasn't looking at the red flags or the reality. I was saying, but they could be somebody, I was looking at their soul and thinking they're such an amazing person. They could be so much. But, the reality is that we can't do the work for people. Like, we can help them, we can guide them. But my big lesson is around tolerance, and just actually knowing that I can give people the guidance, I can tell them what spirit want them to hear, but I can't force them to use that information. It has to be at the right time for them in their journey. And it's been hard. Like, it was hard for me to accept that I can't fix them. They need to fix themselves the same way as I needed to fix myself. You could have been talking to me until you were blue in the face about, the corporate ladder isn't the way to go. You need to get more in touch with yourself. I would have been like, shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about. And it was only whenever I got to the point where I realized, something needs to change. And then I'm thinking, Hem was right. I should have listened to her like 10 years ago. My life could have been so much better. But if we're not open to hearing it, then it's a wasted effort. I'm saying that it's a wasted effort. It's not, because it's planting that seed for somebody, planting that thought. It was like I had a woman that I worked with that said to me about Louise Hay, you can heal your life, read the book. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And 10 years later, I read the book and I was like, wow, why didn't I read the book sooner? But it's just, we're always at the part of our path where we need to be. And as you said, everything unfolds exactly how it's supposed to.
It's so accurate. You read the book when you're meant to read the book. That's it. You could buy. What book did I have? I'll tell you what it was. The Autobiography of a Yogi. I read it over so many years. I used to read a little bit at a time. And I finished that book when I started it when my split up happened. And I finished it at the culmination. And it was many, many, many years. But there must have been a reason for it. There was something that I needed. Maybe it was journeying with me. Maybe it was healing me as I went. You never know what's going on. It's so interesting. Anyway, my lovely, we're at the exciting questions now. Well, I think they're the exciting questions. The fun questions. What's your favourite food?
My favorite food, all the foods. That's a problem for me, because I like all the foods. But I would say my favorite thing is probably salmon. Just simple baked salmon, bit of rock salt sprinkled on top, wrapped it up, bake it in the oven just until it's just cooked, no more. And that's my favorite thing.
Now you're making me hungry. That's nice. What about your favorite place to go on holiday? What's been your favorite place to go on holiday?
My favorite holiday that I've ever had was Cuba. I really loved Cuba. I thought it was just an amazing place. There was so much to learn. But I've been to San Francisco a few times. I have family there, and I really felt like I had just got home. I remember the first time I went and I got off the plane and I was like, this feels like home. So it would be a bit of a toy between the two, San Francisco or Cuba.
Lovely. I like that a lot. Do you like crystals at all? Are you into
I love crystals.
What are your favorite recommendations for our viewers of crystals?
So I would always recommend something black, and I can't remember if I can't actually remember what crystal it is, but I know that they're both the same and they're brilliant for protection. So I always have them always touching my skin because they protect my energy and help me work.
I've got one here. Look.
Yeah. There you go. Always it was funny because my guide always said it had to be touching my skin. So I've got a little bracelet that I wear, and then I've got this lovely necklace. And then my next ones that are usually down my bra, that's a good place to store crystals, is my clear quartz and my rose quartz.
Yeah.
So
So with the black crystals, you're looking at stuff like black tourmaline, and you're looking
black
at
tourmaline,
stuff like,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I
So you're looking
think.
at black tourmaline and maybe hematite if it works with you. Some people find hematite can be quite strong. And I'm trying to think of some other ones. There is black obsidian and stuff like that. So, you know, have a look. But you can also go for brown crystals for grounding and for that energy as well, depending on what you like work with. So there's like brown obsidian and stuff like that. So I mean, the clear quartz is always a brilliant one because it's just a little rounder, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So any other that is like your favorite crystal just to look at, or like just to
amethyst just to look at. I love purple, so it's my favorite crystal for its aesthetics because it's the purple that I love.
I used to love amethyst, but it doesn't work for me anymore. I don't need it in my energy field. Just don't need it. It's really weird. I have a lot of amethyst jewelry as well, which I tend not to wear so much nowadays because when I was younger, I had it on me all the time, which probably made my psychic senses even higher and crazier. I don't know what was I doing, but I mean, really, really sensitive. I'd go rose quartz,
yeah,
because otherwise it all just comes flying out, and you're like, why am I feeling like this? And why is everything falling on the floor so quickly? Because it opens everything up so fast. And my last question to you is, what is your favorite thing to do for leisure?
Sit and talk to spirit, and people think that that's really weird, but honestly, whenever my daughter's in bed and I have a free 30 minutes or sometimes even a few hours, I sit and I chat to my guide and I ask her questions about what's going on in the world, or just anything like that. I'm just obsessed with learning as much as I can about the afterlife and other realms, and I'll even ask questions about, if I've maybe read something in a Dolores Cannon book, I'll be asking, so can you explain this to me a little bit more? I'll ask some more questions on it. So I know that it's really boring, but I sit and talk to spirit in my spare time.
It's really funny because when I ask this question, many people will say that's their favorite thing. For me, I think it's just a way of life. I couldn't tell you, because I'm a reader. My favorite thing ever is to pick up a book, and I like eating as well. I love eating food. So that's kind of me. But I do get it. And I think I remember a friend of mine saying to me, when you're not working, what do you do? And then she went, oh, you're always working.
Yeah I know, it's like like somebody said to me, oh, you need to turn off, you need to shut down, you need to tell them to get out. And I'm thinking, but I don't want to. I like it. I like having, because I'm constantly connected. I could wake up in the middle of the night to like, it's very frequent for me that I'll wake up to maybe use the bathroom maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just have a conversation with my guide while I'm there. And I love that I have that direct connection, that I can just sit and converse with her. But that actually means so much to me that, I very rarely would put the television on. And I sometimes struggle to read a book because I find that actually, yes, I can learn a lot from books, but I just find at the minute I'm learning so much more from spirit, and I have this thirst for knowledge that I can't seem to find in a book or anything at the minute.
So
that is actually what I do in my spare time.
It is true. It's quite interesting because they do bring through information you can't get anywhere else. I've had loads of stuff through over the years. I mean, they told me that something was going to happen in 2020 many years ago, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I wrote it down in my journal, but I didn't know what it was. I could never have conceived of what it was. Anyway, Gemma, we are at the end of our interview. Thank you so much for joining us this time on Self-Love, Self-Care Conversations with Experts.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell my viewers where they can find you if they're interested in what you do?
So it's Gemma with a G, gemmalonsdale.guru, and that is on the web. So that's my website, gemmalonsdale.guru. And then you can also find me on TikTok and Instagram, and it is Gemma Lonsdale Guru. And make sure you go to the right one, because there are quite a few fraudsters out there at the minute. So I've got Gemma Lonsdale Guru 1, Gemma Lonsdale Guru 2. There's only one Gemma Lonsdale Guru. So just make sure that you're going to the right one.
Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you so much. Everyone, where you can find me. I'm at www.selfloveselfcaresystem.com. I'm here for readings and anything else you want me for. I'm always here for advice for you, and always here for any help that you need. This has been an amazing episode. Thank you so much, Gemma. Thank you for your time and being here with us today.
Thank you so much for watching the interview with me and Gemma Lonsdale. I hope that you really enjoyed it. If you're interested in my guest, you can find all her handles down in the notes. Also, if you've enjoyed it and you've got to this stage, please like maybe and hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I'd love to have you on board as part of the community. There are lots of things coming up. Now, if you are interested, please look on my website. I run healings, I do healings, I offer healings, and I also offer readings. If you'd like a reading with me, I'm an angel connector, and I connect on a deep level, and I'm able to give you wisdom through the angel community. They give me messages to give to you to help you with your further development. Anyway, my lovelies, thank you so much for watching the episode. I hope it's brought you some clarity for those of you who are going through a spiritual awakening and do need to find some clarity. Also, on that note, if you are going through a spiritual awakening and you are struggling, please feel free to come work with me. I can help you with coaching to get through the hurdles that you're facing. I have been doing this for a very long time, since I was 11 years old, as I said in the interview. I have a wealth of experience behind me, and I can help you if you're struggling. Anyway, my lovelies, take care. Have a lovely, lovely rest of the week, month, year, whatever. Whenever I see you next, I'll be there with you. Take care of yourselves. Namaste. And I will speak to you soon. Lots of love. Bye.